You see me flossing often at all the club sites, at the bars buying crystals like they butt lights. My style is hard like strong lumber. Dime pieces get the digits, chicken heads get the wrong number. It's time to make power moves and get the cheddar and buy the real nice things that makes life better.
What is up, guys? Welcome to another episode of Maximilian Must Know. I have what I consider to be a very special episode for you guys tonight. And that's because I don't think anyone else has reviewed this fragrance. I also don't think that I've heard anyone even speak about this fragrance in general. In fact, I didn't know about this fragrance until my friend from Decant Shop, Adriana, told me about this fragrance. She mentioned she had an opportunity to buy it and that I might like to buy it as well. I did a quick look on Fragrantica. I asked her if this was supposed to be a good one. She said normally this is something that sells on eBay for $200 to $300. And in fact, as of this video, there's an auction on eBay now, one worldwide auction with 9 people watching it, and the price for this bottle in US dollars is $450. So I figured, let me take a chance. Worst case scenario, I can flip it and make some good money on it. Now, I reviewed a flanker. Oh, and by the way, I haven't mentioned the fragrance to you guys. It is L'Eau d'Issey. It is a limited edition of L'Eau d'Issey called Noir Absolu. Now, I reviewed a flanker of the original L'Eau d'Issey last summer, L'Eau d'Issey summer 2013, and I liked it. Wasn't the second coming for me, a bit boring as my homie Jay Fragrance Wires pointed out, but I thought for $65 it was a decent buy. Now, as good as the original L'Eau d'Issey, which for most guys my age, I'm 35, was a classic fragrance for them at one point or another. You know, that was a fragrance that came out in '94 and changed a lot about the fragrance game. People always talk about Acqua di Gio, Acqua di Gio. Well, do the math. Acqua di Gio dropped in '96. So I think if you want to talk about fragrance that ushered in the fresh era and sort of broke away from the big and bold 80s fragrances, you have to go back to 1988 when Cool Water came out. Now, straight up and down, they just Jack Creed, who was on that fresh tip in 1985. You know, the whole story with Pierre Bourdin is murky, but to me, that was sort of the real first break from the 1980s in the designer game was Cool Water. And then 1994 was a huge year because besides L'Eau d'Issey, you also had CK1. So shit was changing at that point to something very different, and these clean aquatic fragrances were starting to make themselves heard in a retail sense. I think that in a way that crescendoed in 96 with Acqua di Gio, which to me is similar to L'Eau, but L'Eau will always be so dope for 3 main reasons for me. You know, one, it was the first real Japanese scent that hit big in the United States for men. Kenzo was not what it was now then. Kenzo Pour Homme dropped in 91, but no one was really up on that in the United States. The second thing was that, and a lot of people didn't understand this at the time, but I did, that Japanese minimalist aesthetic that is refined and beautiful translated so well into the artwork that is the L'Eau d'Issey bottle. Like, this shape is just crack. It's fucking crack. And Americans get that now, right, because of stores like Muji and Uniqlo. But back then, I don't think people realized the elegance of the bottle. That's why when Japan started coming out with shit like Bathing Ape and XL, it was real departure from the beautiful simplicity that their design aesthetic has been known for. So the bottle and the silhouette was something you wanted to display in your dresser. Now think back to pre-L'Eau d'Issey, there weren't a lot of bottles that were popping. La Malle is a beautiful bottle, but that came out a year later. Up until this point, cologne bottles really look like cologne bottles for the most part, and L'Eau d'Issey, to me, was a piece of art. The third thing was that, perhaps most important to the narrative for this review, is yuzu, right? Now, you might Macaulay Culkin Home Alone your face right now and go, yuzu, but no one was thinking yuzu until Jacques Cavier put yuzu in a fragrance in 1994. Now, lots of fucking fragrances these days have yuzu in them. You know, Vera Wang does one, Parfum d'Empire, Moschino, Cartier, Olfactive Studio, Nautica, Jill Sander, Caran, Azzaro, all of them have yuzu fragrances. And I might be wrong on this. I don't think I am because I did a fair amount of research here. But I'm pretty sure L'Eau d'Issey was the first fragrance to use yuzu. And if it's not the first, they were the fucking best at the time. Lemon is a fresh note. That's cool. Lime, dope. Orange, grapefruit, talk to me. Yuzu, game fucking over, homeboy. Put it in a dope bottle, back it up with some cedar, vetiver, and musk so shit lasts and has some backbone, and game is over. You know how many people got rich off L'Eau d'Issey? That shit still sells out at Sephora. I have nothing against Acqua di Gio. I wore it for a long time. I'll eventually get Essenza Acqua di Gio, but I think Acqua di Gio saw what L'Eau d'Issey did and Americanized L'Eau d'Issey a bit more by making it clean and a bit fresher, and they did their version of it, and then the absolute floodgates of copycats and the real fresh era began. And I think that was bad for fragrances because Ballsy and bold fragrances got swept under the rug for this clean, generic smell that every red-blooded American guy wanted to have. Okay, so L'Eau d'Issey, right? We talked about it. Yuzu, kick-ass bottle, and a Japanese fragrance. But we're not reviewing L'Eau d'Issey today. If you guys want that one day, let me know, and I have no problem reviewing it. I do have a small bottle of L'Eau d'Issey, and I love it. But today is about L'Eau d'Issey Noir Absolu. So when Adriana told me about it, I had got Nemo at the time by Cacharel, a discontinued fragrance that I had heard Mark talk about a few times, and I got it for a really good price. So I told Adriana about the place I got it from, and she went and grabbed the bottle of that for her store, and she was like, they also have Noir Absolu for like $60 for 100 ml. So boom, I was in. I ordered it and got it less than a week later, 100 ml bottle right here. And this one really flew under the radar. It was released in 2010, but I'm not sure who the perfume on this project was. I think it was released with a gold version that's exactly the same as this one, with just a different bottle. And the listed notes on this fragrance are mandarin orange, cashmere, woods, amber, cinnamon, and nutmeg. So different sounding for an Issey Miyake fragrance, which really brought me in. Now, as far as your presentation, I love this presentation. You have this beautiful golden black box, Noir Absolu, edition limited. Information on the sides and back, nothing on the top, and then you have your over here you have your lot number, made in France, you have your barcode, all that good information. And then, man, I think this bottle is just beautiful, man. Like, it's the L'Eau d'Issey bottle, but it has this beautiful, like, matte black sort of aesthetic to it. And L'Eau d'Issey Pour Homme Noir Absolu Issey Miyake. You of course got that famous top. We talked about how dope this bottle is, and it's got a decent atomizer. Let me give it a couple sprays, even though it's wasting a lot of money at this point. But you know, that beautiful Issey Miyake sprayer. This just looks crack, man. If you have the regular L'Eau d'Issey in a summer one and you have those three lined up, I mean, it's one of the most impressive designer bottles of all time, in my opinion, at least. And guys, this fragrance is absolutely delectable. I think it fulfills two different objectives. First, it's a wonderful homage to the original. It's not that different. It opens up very similar to the first, and I think you kind of have to be a fairly advanced nose to really pick up the differences off the bat. But where it really shines is in the dry down. Well, the original stays really fresh and light the entire time. This sort of warms up as it dries down, and you get hints, just little whispers of amber, cinnamon, and nutmeg. So where this fragrance really shines is its close, is its finishing. It's close enough to the original so that it really is a flanker, but also different enough to warrant a purchase, in my opinion. And what is also great about this fragrance is that I think this is just absolutely perfect to rock on like spring evenings. I mean, this is just going to do tremendous for you in nice, cool weather. Think about it like this, guys. Think about the original L'Eau d'Issey as YSL L'Homme, and think about Noir Absolu as La Nuit. Just a darker version that's more of a nighttime fragrance than a daytime fragrance. Because this has some darker notes, this also lasts longer on my skin than the original. Well, the projection sort of retains the original slightly better than fair projection. The longevity on this fragrance is just spectacular. I think this is a man's fragrance. I think this is more masculine than L'Eau d'Issey because of the spicier and darker notes. It's also incredibly versatile. There's nowhere you can't wear this fragrance. It's going to go great for you if you just go to a baseball game. Great for you at work. Perhaps best, as I said a bit earlier, at a nice cool spring evening out if you're dressed up. This is great for that. Also great for casual. It smells clean and wealthy. The yuzu note, will not list it, is still there, and it's blended with a bit of orange, I think, to give it more of a gourmand, juicy vibe to this fragrance. This is a pretty easy review to do, because if you're familiar with L'Eau d'Issey, you're going to know what you're getting with this. You kind of just have to make the decision whether you like L'Eau d'Issey enough to own this darker version. If it was up to me, I would tell you guys to own both as I do. If you could only own one, I would recommend getting this one. I feel like this one's crafted a bit better, is a bit more masculine and versatile, which I can't believe that I'm saying. Now, with that said, this is not an easy scent to get your hands on by any stretch of the imagination, so that's where deciding how badly you want this scent can only sort of be defined and decided by you, not me. Guys, if this fragrance was at Sephora for $60, it would be a 10 out of 10 for me. It's a classic improved upon. It's unique, it's original, it's beautiful, it's versatile, and it performs well on my skin because this is pretty, and yeah, the presentation is also well done too. But because this is pretty close to impossible to find, and because it is fetching upwards of $400 on eBay, I'm giving Noir Absolu an 8 out of 10. This is a great fragrance. I don't know whether you want to spend that kind of paper to pick this fragrance up. I don't know that it's worth it. I probably don't think it is. What you could get for $450, basically the entire Xerjoff catalog is open to you except for some of the XJ scents. Most of the Mona d'Oreo stuff except for Oud. Most of the Mason Francis Kurkdjian, most of the Amouage stuff is open to you. Lots of Creed stuff except for the exclusives, the real exclusives, but you could get someone to split that with you and still get in on it. So this is another level. And I don't know you want to spend that kind of money on this, honestly. I don't think I would. I'd probably pay $150 for this, maybe. Definitely $100. But what I would say to you guys is if you can ever find this for $100 or less or $60 like I did, run, do not walk to grab this fragrance. It's funny with Issey Miyake. In one regard, they really hit the ball out of the park with L'Eau d'Issey and this flanker, and even with their summer flankers, which have been, for the most part, well received by the community, especially their 2009 edition. But they've been really so pathetic since then, and they haven't been able to release anything outside of the L'Eau d'Issey family that has been what I would call even somewhat respectable for men. Bleu d'Issey isn't a bad fragrance. I own it, but it pales in comparison to L'Eau, let's be honest. I hope Issey Miyake gets out of this rut because when they hit the ball, man, they crushed that shit. They put it into the upper decks. And hopefully they can come up with something interesting that's also worthy outside of L'Eau, because as you guys can probably tell, I'm a big fan of Issey Miyake, man. I just love Japanese culture, Japanese aesthetic. Think like the Japanese just do shit really well, from fashion to food, even to sake. I look at cultures, and as an Italian, I think a little differently. I look at their spirits. In Italy, we have wine, and we have beautiful Amarones, Amaro liqueurs, and grappa, and Fernet Branca, and stuff like that. And then I look at other cultures and see what are they doing, And Japan, they knock shit out of the park with sake, making wine out of rice. That's what you do. That's how you get fucked up in a country. You take your best commodity and you make booze out of it. It's what people all around the world do. Russians did it with vodka. They did it in the Caribbean with sugar. In Mexico, they took the agave, because that's what you do. And I'm just a big fan of, and the Japanese houses I'm a big fan of too, I really like Comme des Garçons, which I know is more French, but it was founded by the Japanese. Kenzo I'm a big fan of, obviously Issey Miyake. I'm just a fan of Japan. I would love to go there someday. And again, also their fashion. I think they did street fashion so well with XL and Avizu and PRPS and Bathing Ape and when Pharrell was doing BBC over there, I thought that was a really interesting project. So and of course Yoji Y3. Shit is piff, man. They know what they're doing, and they knew what they were doing with this one. So guys, again, you make the final call, man. I'm never gonna spend your money unless I'm confident enough to tell you to spend your money. I realize what it's like out there, and nothing pisses me off more than reviewers who go out there and irresponsibly direct people to get shit. Again, I'm not accusing anyone of that. I'm really not, but I have seen that done, of course, and it's fucked up, and I would hate it if someone told me to go out and blind buy something just because, and I bought it and it was shit. So if you watch and you listen, I'm real careful about anything I recommend to you guys. When I can get you guys samples of anything, I try to do that. I really try to have that sort of respect for the people that watch my videos and subscribe to my videos. So, you know, that's what it is. But really like this one. You can expect to see this one for shizzle in my spring starting lineup video, and I will see you guys again very soon. Obviously, I'm Maximilian. I must know. 2 reviews next week. You know what it is.
95 was a beautiful year for L. Now I'm back and all the ladies still cheer for L. Whatever I write is gonna be tight, cause if making hits is wrong, I don't wanna be right. Nevertheless, the